Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have a special guest, Travis Dowd. Travis, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mr. Detzel. How are you?
Yeah, you can call me Chris, but I'm probably old enough to be your dad. But one thing I do want to say is that you won the Run Dallas Marathon in your first marathon, and you won this marathon. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Much. I appreciate it. Yeah, very blessed and fortunate to be here. And I think the only reason that was able to be even a possibility was like the number of people that gave me advice and helped me to like actually be able to know what I was getting myself into.
I just think it's amazing. It's your first marathon, you win it, and you had a great time of 2 hours and 26 minutes. We'll get into this in a minute. Let's talk about you a little bit. Let's talk about your journey. Did you start in high school, middle school? How did that turn out?
So I started running more to get in shape
Yeah.
in middle school, and it was the classic soccer to running pipeline. I was a serious soccer player, and I said I'm gonna do this. Oh, sorry. I said I was
No
gonna
worries.
do this through college. That was the goal, and I like the sport. But I started to run to get in shape for soccer in middle school, doing cross country, and I really liked it. I really liked the community around it, and as I got into high school, I was running and soccer were my two main sports. I would play a little bit of basketball and baseball on the side, but like running and soccer were like my two main sports. And then beginning of high school, I was starting to get onto these select teams in club soccer where it was if you don't choose between running and soccer, you're not going to get recruited for soccer because we're starting to
Okay.
and everything outside the city and the seasons are starting to overlap and everything. And at that point, I think the soccer community was getting a little bit toxic for me. I didn't like how some of like the playing time worked and like the team selections worked. And it seems paradoxical just because running is thought of as more of an individual sport. But I think
Yeah.
because of that, running is also a more collaborative sport, which is weird to think about.
I
But I
think
think at the end of the day, it really just matters. It's you versus yourself trying to improve on your times, and everyone else is just in control of themselves. If you hit a certain standard, you'll be able to go to a certain school, you're going to be able to run for a certain program. And so everyone's a lot more collaborative in that sense because I think it's obvious that training with people that are better than you and running with people that are better than you is going to help you. And that's exactly what
100%.
so I ended up taking route early high school, kind of committed to running. And I still played soccer on the side for my school, but I knew I wasn't going to take it anywhere after high school. So it was just like a fun thing to not get myself too focused and too burnt out on running in high school.
I think that's pretty mature knowing that during you knew that you were going to play soccer, you enjoyed it, but you didn't want to mess with that because soccer can be very political, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
That's exactly the word that I would use. Yeah. Maybe toxic,
yeah,
but political is probably the right word.
politics can be toxic. I think not to dive too deep into that, but I think they're probably a little bit both. Yeah, talk a little bit about because you have to be pretty competitive, obviously, and nobody's like winning kind of marathons or going into you actually ran in college as well, right? So talk about like competitiveness through high school into college. You get up there, beat that kid, or I know it's still collaborative and it's fun, and you probably were friends with some of the people you beat, but there's probably a lot of that kind of going back and forth now.
Sure. Yeah. I've always been a very competitive person. I'm like the kind of guy that if someone gets too intense in a family board game, like the rest of that night's not going to be a fun night. We're throwing down a Monopoly.
Family is
Not
competitive
fun.
in the board game.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun to me. And I still play a lot of pickup sports outside of running and
Yeah.
when I am not hurt. And I I think just playing a bunch of sports when I was younger like gave me that competitive attitude. And
Yeah.
I channeled that all into running. But I think there's a certain I don't know. There's a certain, I guess, attitude around the running community that I really like and that I've really embraced, and that like you train with everyone, you're friends with everyone while you're training. But then, like once that gun goes off, like there's a if you're on a 10K, there's like a 30-minute time period where you're just not friends with anyone anymore.
You're just running. You're trying to win, or at least do the best you can at time.
And I think even in the setting of something like a marathon, like for the first I don't know, 90% of the race, at least distance wise, like you're supposed to be relaxed. If you're not
Yeah.
relaxed at mile 10, like there ain't no way you're going to be relaxed at mile 26. I can tell you that. And you're going to be in the pain cave and it's not going to feel fun. So I think embracing that collaborative spirit of running earlier in the race
Yeah.
helps you to stay relaxed. And we can talk about that more when we get into the actual race itself. But I think
Yeah.
that helps a lot to keep your mind off of focusing too hard on dialing up the pace when you shouldn't be.
Yeah. I like that. It's pretty mature for somebody that ran their first marathon. No, it is. But you've done a lot of running, so you have some ideas of, did you get a scholarship to run? You went to Rice, is that right? Or
Yes, sir, that's correct. I went to Rice.
okay.
So in high school, I was fortunate enough to run with a very competitive running group where I was never at the top. And I think that really helped me when I went into college, because I think a lot of people have trouble in the transition from high school to college. Not that I didn't have trouble, I had plenty of trouble, but I think
Sure.
lots of the issues come from being used to being the best by far on your team or in your region, and
Yeah.
then getting to that level where you're not even close to the top anymore. And
Different level.
that. And I was used to that. Like I came in, I was like, I know I'm not going to be at the top. And I think throughout high school and college, it allowed me to really channel into why I really love the sport and what keeps me going. And it wasn't necessarily getting first place or like winning all these races. It was beating yourself from yesterday, or those days where you really don't want to go out there and do 8-mile tempo. Those are the days where those are the days when usually you finish and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I did that.
Did I read this right? Is that one of the times, and maybe it's not your best time, but you ran like a 15-minute 5K or a 3-miler? Is that wrong?
Yes. So my PR on the 5K is 14:47. I honestly didn't have the best career. Like I'm not super proud. I wish I had been able to go faster, but at the end of the day, I feel like I
Wait, 14:47, and you're not proud of that?
I'm proud of that given the conditions, but I had always dreamed of being a guy that was going to nationals and everything. And that's not even, you're not even talking nationals in that sense. Yeah. Like to go to nationals now in the NCAA, like you got to be 13:30s, like more than a full minute.
That's crazy.
And like I said, I learned to accept that and learned to love running not for the achievement pretty early. I learned to love running for the other parts of my life that it betters pretty early. And that's what's allowed me to, I think, stay so religious about my training since then, since graduating from college, where there's no money attached to it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, was there money attached to it during college?
Yes. So I was recruited quite a few places. I was lucky to have a great college or high school team that got me to the platforms that I needed to. I wouldn't say I'd be super heavily recruited D1, but recruited enough to where I was put on a very small scholarship going in. But that's not why I was going to college. Like running definitely helped sell what college I was getting into, but I knew I wasn't going to run professionally. I knew running would be a great vehicle to help me find my community, help me like be a more mentally and physically healthy person in the academic year. And so that's why I ended up choosing Rice. A lot of people do that are in the student athlete population there. It's the great combination of D1 athletics and academics that you can get there. So I came on a small scholarship, worked my way up, was able to get on a much larger scholarship by the time I was a junior, senior, fifth year.
I love that. It's funny. I always tell people, like, no matter how fast you are in running, whatever K, 10, half, full, in general, there's always somebody faster. It doesn't matter what level you are. There's always, for the most part, somebody faster, except for you in the Dallas Marathon, and you won it. So there's nobody faster that day. Again, we'll get into that. How did you love the story so far? How did you think about your first marathon and what went into all of that? You mentioned before you were a little bit injured. You talked to Dr. Logan Sherman, some other things I'm sure went on. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was a 5K, 10K guy in college. So I think it was a natural progression of the marathon for me. It was like, I was a 2-mile guy in college in high school, where the two longest distances were the mile and the 2-mile. I was a 5K, 10K guy in college, where the two longest distances were 5K, 10K. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm the half marathon guy once I graduate college. That's what I did. I was already on high mileage as an undergrad or in college. I was running like 95, 100 a week by my junior year. And so I think like that cumulative kind of load on my legs, like just putting the miles in week after week really helped me make that jump. I actually went down in mileage after I graduated college, especially my senior and fifth year. I was dealing with a lot of injuries. I think my body was really just telling me like, hey, we need a break bad. Like college was hard. I'm not going to lie. Like it was a difficult time balancing everything that I had going in my life, but I think it taught me a lot about myself, both academically and athletically and professionally and personally.
You're not a medical student, so you probably needed that, because now it's just going to be harder.
I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for that time. And it taught me a lot about how much I can push my limits.
Yeah.
But I came out of that, took a couple of weeks off once I ran my last collegiate race, and then I had my eyes set on a marathon no matter what med school I went to. When I made the decision to commit to UC Southwestern and go to UC Southwestern in the fall, it probably around, I would say, I guess it was match day technically, which is like in February of the year before. So February of my 5th year. And I earned my master's degree. And I went on the website after that. It's like, okay, what does the Dallas Marathon look like? And I saw a date. So I had my mind set on a December marathon of some sort. And then our schedule came out for med school. And our last final was on the Friday before the marathon. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Like, this is meant to be. So then I just put all my eggs in that basket. I said, you know what, we're training for this. This is going to be fun. Still going to not have to worry about it too much because I'll have my last final on the 13th, but also not be stressed about having to take another final after I run the marathon. And it worked out really well. Started to train in the summer and worked my way up in my
July or whatever.
Yeah, actually, I think I started building in June, but it was recreationally. Like, I was just like I was trying to reset. I was really trying to reset. And I think I hit a good job of that because I felt very reset when I hit the ground running in med school, and mentally I felt great. I reached around 80-ish miles per week. I was trying to hit 75 or 80 per week consistently.
Yeah.
And I hit that kind of right before med school started. So
What was your longest run before?
My longest run was like, I hit my longest run, I think, end of October, beginning of November. I guess it was mid-November. I ran 2 hours and 45 minutes on just to see how it felt to be on your feet for that long. That was the only time where I ran longer than I was going to be running for the marathon, and like time-wise. And I ended up running about like 25 miles or something in that time. And it just felt
So you think of it more of time on your feet rather than...
That's how I think of it for those longer runs where I'm running easy. A lot of my long runs, so the way that I structured my training was I would do one hard workout on Tuesday every week, and then I would do a workout within my long run on Saturday or Sunday every week.
Okay.
The rest was just easy mileage and just trying to get as high in mileage as I could without getting hurt, which didn't end up happening, but I had a bunch of injury scares that never fully turned into injuries.
Well, that's good. What happened? What was your biggest scare?
Biggest scare, I would say I had a really bad back problem, which I've never had a back injury. And that was probably the scariest part, is that everything else that I had before, that was
Knew what to do.
That was the blessing of getting injured so many times in my senior year and 5th year of college, that I had pages of injury protocols written out, like rehab exercises, and I'd already been down those roads. So I was able to, and then getting connected with resources like Dr. Logan Sherman those were invaluable to me, really got me back running as quickly as I could.
Did you go to him to get your back done and stuff, or is that how you met him?
Yeah, so I think I went to him the first time for the back, because I actually never even had to take a week completely off. I had to take 3 or 4 days off, and I thought I was done. But then I went to him
for 3 or 4 days off,
or revived. Yeah, it felt great. Before that, I had a little bit of a hip problem. Knew how to get over that one because I'd had hip issues in the past. I had an IT band problem right before the back problem, and so I was doing a lot of rehab for that, and I think that's what led to the back problem, because I was like probably not doing the weight stuff that I needed to, but that went away. And
so let's back up. So a lot of people, like runners in general, and look, you've had a lot of training and a lot of but as you think about all the miles that you ran, were you doing strength training throughout those college and into now? What's that look like?
Yeah, in college, I did 2 strength sessions a week.
Okay.
I think the strength that we did was good. I don't think it was directed enough to where I needed to be in terms of like injury prevention. I think it did good things for my running form and everything, but it was a general program that we all did together as a team, which is great because it helped to build that camaraderie, and like we were just together more, working out together more. But I think once I got hurt senior 5th year, I got put on my own injury protocol. Basically like a bunch of prehab for IT band stuff, for Achilles tendonitis stuff, like issues that stemmed from there, for calf strain, all of that. And so I had a lot of exercises from that. And that summer before I went into med school, I did a lot of just going on Instagram, following, thankfully the strength coach for BYU actually has a public Instagram account that I have followed and used a lot of the exercises he has, because obviously they're doing something right. And I took a lot of the exercises that I worked with my trainers at Rice with and just put that into a little Frankenstein of a rehab routine. I've been doing that just once a week, and that's been doing wonders for me. I feel like I've my stride is very efficient, and a lot more efficient
Yeah.
than it was in undergrad. And I feel like I am working the deficiencies that I have in the muscles that have caused me injury in the past.
How do you think of nutrition from a daily basis into running long?
Yeah, I've been a big nutrition guy for a while, and I think I try not to overcomplicate it. I'm just a big no, minimize the added ingredients as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I just go shopping once a week. I'll meal prep once a week, get a big rotisserie chicken for any times that I don't have like time for a meal prep, and that'll be my
Yeah.
nutrition for the week. Big. If you've ever had overnight oats, my friends are gonna laugh when they hear this. If you've ever had
Overnight what?
overnight oats, that's
Yeah.
I just have a stockpile in my fridge, and if I'm ever running behind or I need a quick meal to grab when I'm running out the door, that's the one. So there's been times where I've had that 3 times a day, and it's worked wonders for me. Just
Perfect.
yeah, I just make sure that at every meal I'm getting like some type of carbs, protein, fats, and I don't over scientify it, but I
Yeah.
just try to get those macros in as natural a source as I can.
It sounds super simple, right? But I think it's very important. And a lot of people don't think about that. And I just talked to a runner and she's like, I just got a nutritionist or dietitian. And that person really helped her go to the next level in her marathon training. Like she's an older runner in her late 30s and she's had a couple of kids and she just ran a 2:58. Went from a 3:15 to 3:06 to a 2:58. And that's a huge gain at that age with a couple of babies. And I think a big part of that was nutrition. She said, if I'd have known about this 10 years ago, and it sounds like you have a very strong view and focus. And I love that at such a young age.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I think I'm big right now just because my time is so limited outside of school. I think I'm
Yeah.
big on controlling like the 95% that you can control. Talk to a lot of people about this. Just yes, there's a lot of fancy recovery tools out there. And yes, I see the Normatex in the background. Like I use Normatex all the time. I love Normatex.
Yeah.
But like I think at the end of the day, like the 95% that I really need to focus on if I don't have time for the others is, are you getting the sleep you need? Are you getting the
Yeah.
food you need? And are you hitting the mileage? And like,
Yeah.
that's the majority of it. If I have time for the other stuff, great. But there's weeks where I definitely don't have time for the other stuff. So just focusing on that.
You're focusing on what you can control. And I think that's important. I mean, you can always focus on food, you can focus on nutrition and the best you can on mileage, especially with the time you got as a med student. So what made you decide to run a marathon? What was your thinking? Hey, I'm going to, you said you're going to do it, right? And you told us about the planning and things like that. What just said, just because it's the next step, that was it? Okay, I got to do a marathon.
No, I think that's great. I definitely think that was the natural progression for me. I think that
Yeah.
was a small part of my motivation for it. But I think the big part was having been injured multiple times in college, having seen what a normal routine is like in college and like how productive I can be when I'm running and feeling
Yeah.
good and feeling healthy both mentally and physically. I think it just became a very powerful tool for me to keep myself accountable in other parts of my life. So if I've explained it like this, it's like almost like a pH strip or something. Like it's a good test on whether you're healthy and you're doing well in other parts of your life. So if I am not getting the sleep I need, or I'm way too stressed out about school or anything, like my running suffers because of it and I can notice it very easily versus when
Yeah.
I'm injured, if I'm not running or like in my normal routine, I can fall down a spiral really quickly where I just don't even notice like how much my routine's getting messed up and how that's affecting my quality of work and my efficiency in getting work done.
Yeah. I, I love that. Running is just who you are and part of your life. So as you get close to Dallas running the marathon, did you think you had a chance to win it? What was your thinking in that? Because I'm sure you had some ideas of where you are and looking at maybe who's going to be there and that kind of stuff.
Yes, there's a ton of conversion charts out there, and I had obviously done my fair share of looking at those, just like converting 10K times, converting 5K times. And I had looked at the times from the past 2 years, and I saw Joe Hale's name up there. I've never actually met the guy yet. I really want to. If you're watching or listening, Joe Hale, I would love to get a run with you in sometime. But I think I saw his times up there, low 225, like high 224s for the last two. And that was right around where my 10K time had me projected. So I
Okay.
I really set that goal. I was like, I'm going to go win this thing from the beginning of the summer, because I think that kind of gave me something to shoot for outside of school that
Yeah.
allowed me to not get too caught up in school. Because I'm the kind of person where if I don't have something to shoot for outside of school, like I am going to get so absorbed in my studies. Like med school, anyone will tell you, med school is the kind of thing where you could study for 23 hours a day if you wanted to and get 1 hours, and you would not run out of things to study. Like like the subjects are incredibly, you can go incredibly in depth into each thing. Like there's people that have PhDs in like what we learn in one day, but we just go surface level over so many things, and you have to learn to efficiently understand what you need to be able to effectively synthesize information across different subjects and across within one given subject, and then be able to apply that in clinical practice. And I think,
Do you feel like, so not to get completely off, we'll get off a little bit though, is that AI, if you think about the ChatGPTs, Claudes or whatever, do you think some of that is helping with your studies or does it not? How do you think of it that
I
way?
actually, admittedly, I have not done a good job of that. I have not done a good job of incorporating AI into my learning. I know a lot of friends that have, like a lot of my classmates have done a really good job of it, like using AI to help synthesize the information that we're learning in class, to put it in flashcards, to really get big picture concepts. And all the way from that to like making basically like large analogies to be able to memorize a ton of information really quickly.
Yeah.
So like in relating it to stuff that you already know about so that you're able to memorize it more quickly. I'm trying to do that, but I'm learning. Yeah.
You know, it could help. You might try it out and see what happens. But all right. So you're here, you're thinking, okay, I have a chance to win it. That's what you're going in for, is trying to win. And so you get there on race day. How are you feeling? What's going on?
So I had another injury scare. Like I was like, okay, fix the cycle. What a better way to finish the marathon build than to get one last injury. So last or my taper, yeah, last workout
Oh no.
for I start to feel a little. I'd already had a strain on the inside gastroc, or inside like part of my calf, and Dr. Sherman helped me out with that. Boom, back to running within like a couple of days.
So what is he saying during your conversation? He knows you're going to race and he
Yeah.
probably knows that you're trying to win it. What's that conversation like?
It was honestly so good to have him, just because he understood. Like I had gone to a couple other people before him, just because admittedly he is a very valuable resource and a lot of people want him. So it was hard to get in, but I think he had so much understanding for what I was about to do. Like he has won the marathon.
Yeah.
I think, has he won the marathon and half marathon, or just, I think he's won both,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
And
He's won the Cowtown half, full, and 50K.
yeah, like dude's a monster. Like
Yep.
he's so good at what he does, and he understands what I am trying to do. And I think that was huge, because I felt like he wasn't just going to say, okay, yeah, this is a calf strain, like you need to take 2 weeks off. Like
Yeah.
I'm 5 weeks out. This is when I'm supposed to be hitting my highest mileage. And so
Yeah.
I think understanding that, getting me back on my feet as quickly as possible was huge. But anyway, I had like last workout of the cycle before I was tapering, had an outside strain in my gastroc. And I'm like, okay, that's not like the worst possible time to get an injury, because I'm
Yeah.
starting my taper now, but it definitely affected my taper and made me really antsy leading up to the race, because I had only run, like I basically had more or less a 10-day taper, and I was running probably every third day of that, and then working on the elliptical or art trainer, which is like a modified elliptical, for the majority of the rest of that time, just trying to get some zone 2 work in like as much as possible. And I didn't know if that was going to make me feel really fresh for the race, or if that was going to make me feel really flat, because I had only run in that 10-week period. I only ran 3 miles at goal marathon pace.
Wow.
I was a little bit nervous going into it, but turns out it made me feel pretty fresh. So I was happy with that.
Yeah. We worry about some of the craziest things. It's not like you shouldn't worry about it, but sometimes worry just gets in the way. Sometimes you just got to take what the day gives you and take what your body will give you. And it sounds like you did that. You still worried a little bit, just like everybody else in the world. But if you can learn how to not worry as much, because you can't control everything, just can't. And you had a good race for sure. So you get there on race day, a little nervous, but tell me about the race. Let's get there. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I've been super lucky and blessed to be plugged in with the Dallas running community through getting a couple of good connections. Running with Completely Sloth Run Club, or the Sloths, they've been huge.
Did you say Sloth Run Club?
Yes, the Sloths.
Okay. I don't think I've heard of them.
They're an offshoot of Pegasus.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
They're led by Dr. Matt Campbell, and he's been an invaluable resource for me, just like getting me involved with the Dallas running community. And I've met quite a few people through that help calm my nerves right before the race, and also
That's pretty.
enabled me to get pacing and feel very comfortable in the first couple of miles of the race. Because at the end of the day, it's just about like conserving. So race day, get there, I'm in the hotel lobby and just trying to think about everything other than the race until
Yeah.
minutes before. And I did a
Eat
really
some
good
stuff, drink, whatever.
exactly. And so I was able to just chat with them for a while before,
That's pretty cool.
and then lock in when I needed to. Even for the first 4-ish miles of the race, I was pacing with Mimi, who's like my idol. So that was really cool.
I'm trying to get her on, by the way. Mimi Smith.
Yes, you should.
Yeah. She's going to come on. She's been busy, but that'll be a good one. So that's good to know.
Yes. So like she was trying to start out right around the target pace that I was trying to start out at. I wanted to go out a little bit hotter. I was trying to hit 5:30s more or less, but and I was thinking about maybe even going a little faster than that. But then with the calf injury and everything, I was like, I want to take the first couple miles chill.
A warm day, or as in it was warm, but very muggy. Like humidity was like at 90+%, I think.
Yeah, and that was definitely another concern going into it too. So with those two things combined, I was like, I'd rather start out a little bit slow and then be into it and I made my race plan as I went, more or less.
You had a plan, but then it slightly changed. I think that's a smart thing to do. So for the first 4 miles, you're running with Mimi. So then you just break off, or what is that?
I forgot exactly how it worked. I think there was a couple of, I actually like the fact that the half marathoners and marathoners started together. I was able to like just kind of lock in with a pack of half marathoners. And that was my goal all along, was just 5:30 to 5:35 for those first 8 miles while you're with the half marathoners. And so try to start to run in that range, and then just find a couple of people that are running in that same range and just try to like either tuck in behind or alongside, or just someone to like take your mind off of each stride, more or less. And so I did that. It was great. And then I broke off at mile 8, and I was looking around,
Nobody is there
with me, and no one was there. And so then
because you never know. You're right, until it splits off. So you're by yourself.
I was really ready to be with at least 2 or 3 other people at that point.
Yeah.
But then I just had to refocus and decide, okay, do I want to just wait for someone to catch up for me? I feel great right now. Why not just send it? So I sent it.
Wow. Of course you don't want to wait. Then you could get beat.
Wait, but just sit back. If you look at my splits, the other thing was right at the mile 8 split, I had a big group of friends there. And there was also just a
awesome
crowd right around mile 8, right on that left turn. I forgot and that, if you look at my splits, that mile is significantly faster than any other mile. It was also downhill. Yeah, it got me really pumped up.
Yeah.
And that's when I just flipped that switch. I was like, okay, we're just gonna go for it and see if we can just gap everybody.
So from 1 to 8, there seems to be a lot of crowd support until that cutoff, or where it turns from the split off. So what'd you think about? And I know you just said you took off, but the crowd support dies down a little bit during White Rock Lake. Of course, because it's harder to get to and things like that. Did that bother you at all, or was it just whatever?
No, I think that even the support, even from mile 8 out to White Rock Lake, was also really good on that kind of part. Was amazing. And then once we got to White Rock, there was a huge crowd right on the kind of turnoff, like where you went around White Rock one way clockwise, but then also when you were coming back, so they got you twice there. That was huge. And then I had my sister handing out gels right after that crowd. That gave me another boost of energy. That was great. And then around the lake, I got surprised by a few people. I had a friend like at the back of mile 12 that I didn't know was coming. And so that was like a huge...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great. And then one of the guys, Dr. Mick Leahy, I don't know if you know him, but he recently moved here. Saw him at like mile 11. That gave me another boost. Saw a guy wearing a Rice Track t-shirt. I didn't know him. I think he graduated before I became a freshman, but saw him. One of my friend's parents were out there. So like I had support interspersed.
And a lot of support.
Yeah. On top of all that, I also had every single long run I did was at White Rock.
Okay. So you knew.
Yeah. I felt so
you knew exactly where you were.
Where I know and love. It's so pretty around there. And the pictures that came out of that part of the course were sick. Like you get the fog all around you. You look like you're in a locker. You're sweating. Oh my gosh, it looks so cool.
So I'm looking at one of your pictures. It's your last picture, or I don't know if it's saved it on Instagram. to where one, it's you holding up going, I don't know if, hey, I'm number one or whatever, but basically it's a cool ass picture basically. And I love it. But as you're going down that winning kind of thing, you knowing that you already won and things, or at least you haven't hit it. What was that like with the crowd up?
It was great. It was great. I definitely wanted to put on a little bit of a show, like just
Yeah.
not show how much I was hurting because I was hurting quite a bit. Like I felt, I've told my friends, like probably from mile 23 on, you know how like when you finish a jigsaw puzzle and then if you like hold it up by the corner, it like starts to like
Yeah.
in different directions. That's how I felt from 23 on. I was like, okay, just hold it together. Just don't fall apart. Like you're almost there. And those last 5 miles or so, the way that they have it set up with the half marathon running right next to the marathon is amazing.
So you didn't have to.
Constantly cheering for me. That was the only thing that got me through those last 5 miles, I think. Had my mom at like mile 24, like that gave me another boost.
That's
like,
cool.
just boost of adrenaline that got me through. And then I was holding it together really well until a hill that I didn't even know about. I was so ready to run miles 19, 20, killed those, felt great.
Yeah.
Coming off of those. And then at like mile 25, there was this small little like rinky dink hill right after.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even noticed if I was just doing these. But I was already, at that point, I was already trying to hold it together and everything. And then I hit that. Ooh, I looked at my watch, a pace 640. I was, oh, this is mine.
Oh man.
But got up that and then turned right. And I think it was like one right turn and then one veer left. And that's when you're on the home straight. And that's when the clouds were getting big again. That's when I just forgot it. Like it was the weirdest feeling. I just forgot about the pain for a good half mile. It was crazy.
That's pretty awesome. I love that. And so you get to the finish line. Did you feel like super emotional? Your first marathon, Travis, you win. And I know you're an experienced runner overall, but there's nothing like a marathon. You never know what can happen. You just mentioned that mile 23, you started to really feel it, and even slightly before, and you could have died down there, but you didn't. What was that like, that emotional piece at the end, very end?
Honestly, I don't
finish.
think I got too emotional right after because I
You
was
didn't.
just
Okay.
tired. I was elated. So many clean people
Yeah.
right over the other side of the bridge, like waving at me, and I was just like, "Y'all are gonna have to give me like an hour." And I think I honestly, I don't know how long it was, but after I finished, I walked over to the side and I started to try to give people hugs, but then that's when my hamstrings, quads, calves, everything just started seizing up.
Yeah,
It's like, I
makes
never
sense.
can. But this is
Yeah.
like crazy. Like I started to panic. I was, oh my God. So I sat down the curb and then every single time I tried to get up after that, couldn't get up. Probably had to have been sitting there for at least 30 minutes, almost an hour before I was fine. I chugged 3 coconut waters, 4 Gatorades. Finally was able
But
to
you
get
felt
up.
that later.
Oh yeah. I was so dehydrated. I didn't feel it that much later. It was crazy. I felt like,
Okay.
but it was electric. I love that finishing line atmosphere.
Think about it. Even though you're an experienced runner, you've never run that fast for that long. Think about that. Have you run 26.2 miles that fast, that long? No.
No.
I mean, maybe you've run that long, but you've never ran that fast it's got to be your PR for now. And that's normal though. All the things that you're feeling. And has it been a long time since you felt that way? When you think of 5Ks you've run, the 10Ks, maybe halves or whatever, have you ever felt that way before?
I think I have a couple of times. I think at the end of my collegiate career, like at conference, the 5K and 10K double I did there, I felt
The double. You did the double.
with the 10K 5K double. They do set it up well to where you have a day rest in between. So
Oh, okay.
for that, like it's very doable. But I think just like all the emotions, because I almost didn't think I was gonna get to run that track season because yet another injury. But I like busted my ass. Excuse me. Sorry. I like worked really hard during training and like cross training, just to make sure that like when I finally got healthy, like probably it must have been like 8 weeks out from conference, I was able to hit the ground running, took a risk, bumped my right up to 90, and then just sent it for 8 weeks, and it ended up working out. So that was like a really emotional time. But I think this almost paralleled that. This was close.
There's this race that it's just a very local racing grapevine close to the airport. And they do this K5K. So you do a 5K first. Yeah. And then, it's like this. So you do a 10K first, and then an hour later ish, it depends when you finish. About an hour later, you do the 5K.
Interesting. That's like a workout.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's fun. It's a very local, there's not a lot of people there, maybe a few hundred people at the most. And it's just fun. It's like It's in Grapevine. It's with the Grapevine. I forget what they're called, but point, you got me thinking about that. Like, it's not, then you just go compete and win it. Who would win it? But,
Day on that one. It was,
huh?
they didn't give him a full day on that one. Quick turnaround. Quick.
No, they just give you it's 8 o'clock, you start this race, and 10 o'clock, you start the next race, or 9 or whatever. It's not, it's not, it is, but it's not what the kind of thing that you're talking about. So, how long did it take you to recover from the marathon?
This is honestly, being new to the marathon, I think this is one of the hardest parts for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to recover. So if anyone has any tips, please let me know. But if you have any tips, I would love to hear them. But I've just been taking the last week off, more or less. Did a 7
That's smart.
And
How'd you feel?
and more time off. Both my Achilles were in shambles. My left IT band was very tight. My quads were still sore. I did 3 miles yesterday and felt good though. So I think it's just 3 miles.
Slowly. Like, you're not going to go compete like in the next month or two, are you? Yeah. So if I were to continue to ramp up the miles very slowly and then make sure you're eating, drinking, and I think the stretching and the other exercises are going to be key for you. Don't just go right into it. You'll be fine in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just be smart on how to be smart. Just go 7 miles. Sounds like a lot if you're going to go too fast, but you'll be fine. Just go slowly. Don't ramp up the miles to 90 miles a week. Okay. Anytime soon. Say it again.
Something similar, like week off.
Yeah. So I haven't run a marathon in a while. I would say like I'll do half marathons and things like that. And for me, I'll take a week off. Like I might go jog 3 or 4 miles here and there, but I'm taking a complete week off. And then the next week I'm slightly ramping up. And then the third week I'll be fine. Like if it's a marathon, give it 3 or 4 weeks before you start really diving in hard. You just ran the fastest time you've ever run for that long, right? And so your body's, yes, I know you're a runner, but you still got to be smart about that. Dealt with injuries and stuff. Let your body heal, and you might go back to Logan if you can, and just get a little whatever. Or you might go get a massage and things like that maybe you're not used to doing. I don't know, but the Normatex, do that once a day. Just stuff like that is get your body healed. You've done a lot of running. Drink. You know what to do. I feel like I'm not sure I can tell you much to do. Long stuff is just let yourself relax a little bit more than usual. It's probably not in your mindset. You can't do that.
It's definitely a work in progress, but we're getting there.
Yeah. What's next for you? I know school is going to be highly intense and things like that, but do you have any thoughts on what's next?
Yes, I think right now,
Of course.
if I can get healthy, I'm not like putting this on my schedule and signing up for it until I really know that I'm 100% back to normal. Because I know once I sign up for something, I'm like,
You're on.
Yeah. So I am tentatively looking at the half marathon for Cowtown, just because I've heard that the environment's really cool there as well.
It's awesome. I've done it like 10 times. I love it. It's probably the second. It used to be the first best, and it's still really cool because it's in downtown Fort Worth, or you go to downtown and it's just the crowds are cool. It's very well organized. And if you can win that thing, I don't know if there's money or not, but I think there might be. Or they've had, what do you call it? The world something for the marathon and half marathon elites. Like one of the courses, if you get that, then you get to I forgot what it's called, but it's a great course. It's harder than Dallas, actually, because it's hillier. But if you can, would love to see you there. I'll be there.
Awesome. Are you around the half there? Or you're on the
Yeah.
full?
Yeah.
Oh.
Travis, I don't really do fulls anymore. I found that to me, I've done 3 fulls. I've done a few 50Ks. I've done lots of different things, 20Ks, 30Ks. I've done trail running a lot. I do a lot of half marathons. It's a lot to train for a full. And it just, when you get kids and things like that and work full time, life becomes a little different. And so for me, I told my wife this, but I said, I might think about doing Dallas this next year full for the first time in 10 years to do a race a full. And I can go out and jog a full, but I'm not going to, who wants to, okay. Yeah, I'm going to probably leave it all out there.
Yeah.
What's that?
Halves are also easier to recover from too. I'm learning that right now.
1,000%, man. I could go run a half marathon every month and be fine. So full though, just think all that training you put in it, and what if you have a bad day? I'm just like, oh my God. It's a mind mess up. I would say something else, but probably shouldn't. So, all right, Cowtown half, I like it. That's not too any fulls that you're thinking about, like maybe coming back next year for Dallas and
I think Dallas is definitely in the cards for next year. I think it really
okay.
depends on. I would love to come back to Dallas just because I actually
You live
I
here now.
track that statement. I'm definitely gonna run Dallas in some capacity. I just don't know if I'm
Yeah.
gonna make that my main marathon and try to send it because I might end up doing something very like in the same time frame that puts me in a good position to get an OTQ or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right now I'm eyeing CIM for next year possibly, which is always usually the week before Dallas, and I'm also
Yeah.
eyeing Chicago possibly, which both of them are
It's a
fast.
great race.
Could get me either. I first I want to try to go sub 220 and then OTQ, but yeah, kind of
That's extremely doable for you. I would tell you this is that because you're so young and you've had a lot of experience, that's going to help you. That's one. Two is that this is the time to do it. And I know that look, you're just going to start dealing with life in general. That is what it is. But this is the time, like in your 20s, maybe 30s, but 20s for sure is when you're the most fit you'll ever be and just the strongest you'll ever be. And if this is the time for PRs, this is all I'm saying. Look, somebody told me the other day though, and I like this. And I see it as his name's Jose Lopez. He's a very great runner. He's in his late 30s now and he did college running, all this stuff. But he said, I now look at PRs as different decades, right? In my 20s, I did this. In my 30s, I did this. 40, he's not 40 yet, but that's how you're going to have to see it at some point. But for now, this is the fastest ever that you'll probably run. Probably.
exactly. I definitely see it in the same mindset, and also because we'll be getting on clinical rotations, which is basically where we go into the hospital and where it's definitely a more intense environment. Like right now, we're just in the classroom learning a lot of things, getting into the clinical.
Some stuff you're already used to.
Exactly. It'll be a lot harder to to have a really intense running schedule outside of school once I hit
Yeah.
once I hit 2026 more or less. So I'm just trying to get as much out of it as I can now, and if it works out after that, great. But if not,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like what I went back to when I was talking about high school, like if I outside of running, if it gets really stressful, I'm still going to put as many resources that I feel like I can into running. And at the end of the day, I'll be proud if I feel like I did everything I could for that, given my condition or my like.
Yeah. I think you've set yourself up well from a running standpoint, whatever you do, to be smart and to hopefully have a journey that is a long lasting journey for running. One thing that same friend, Jose, I was running with him yesterday, he goes, my goal after college, a little after, was to think about longevity and how do I stay. It helps me to stay fit, focused, and all the things you mentioned, even like when you're running. But it does. It keeps your sanity a little bit. And I love what you've done. And wow, you started as extremely young. I mean, you're still young, and you've got a lot of running ahead of you in life from a running. Like, I don't know, man. I'll be watching you for sure. And I'm really excited to see what you do. This is first marathon. You did great. You won it. But like you said, like CIM is really great. The person I talked to today, her name's Chantel. That's that same woman that ran, just kept making big progress. And she ran CIM at 2:58, which was her best. And that was just 2 weeks ago. So I think you're going to do great things, man.
I appreciate it.
Did I miss anything that I should have asked or whatever that you were dying to tell me?
Shameless plug. Like I'm honestly just out there trying to make the Dallas running community a better place and trying to encourage people to do a lot of things and realize a lot of the things that I was talking about. So I think that like kind of my main motivation going forward is showing other people that it just takes a couple of months of really putting yourself through the ringer and making yourself very vulnerable. The hardest part is starting, I would say. And
Yeah.
I think that's where people need the most encouragement. And that's something that I strive to do is give them that encouragement as much as possible in the first couple of months, because running is very unique in that like you can't hide behind your teammates or something if something goes wrong. Like those first couple of months are tough if you've never run before. And I would say just start with run walks, start running with a group that's very supportive, because ultimately that's how I started as well. And that's how everyone starts.
Advice was amazing. I love it. One of the things I always tell people is be active and be active consistently, whether it's running, cycling, swimming, it doesn't matter. You got to be consistent at it. And to me, running's always been that. outlet for me from I can stay fit. It helps me think clearer, do better at work or school or whatever, and helps me be a better person overall. And I think it's highly important as you get older. And I'm not saying life doesn't happen to where you can't do as much running or whatever, but if you can just gravitate to, let's just say running in this instance on a consistent basis and know that, hey, none of us are perfect, but go back to it on a consistent basis. Health wise, it's going to help you. It helps me to think better how I can eat better. I want to run faster, but the way to run faster is to eat healthier, not McDonald's and shit like that. You know what I mean? But I love your message, man. You're you're doing great, man. I really love, again, what you're doing. So thank you for coming on, telling your story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. It's honestly been an honor to you having me on. And thank you for what you're doing as well. Like I said this before, but I think one of the main ways that you grow the Dallas running community too is just like getting more people to talk and getting more people involved, like outside of running, being able to like listen to these different stories and like the perspectives that you share in your podcast have been really cool too, Ben.
Cool. You've listened to it or? Really? Okay. There's a lot more coming up. Hey, we had the Run Dallas champion of 2024 on, Travis Dowd. Thank you. And congratulations on your win.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a nice day.
All right. And thank you for everybody that tuned in. Please rate and review us. The stars are important for us to get the word out there for our Dallas community, our DFW community, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, everyone.